In Toledo Bend Lake Country today, we're celebrating the ribbon cutting of the El Camino Real de las Tejas. It's a 400-year or more road that was originally traveled by the Indians and the Buffalo years and years ago, and later by the Spaniards and the French as they came from Mexico City to Natchitoches. At that time, the capital of Texas was in Robeline in the Adaya area, and that's why the trail either you could say started there or ended there.
El Camino Real is one of the many continuously used highways in America from its existence. And since the existence of America, anything of historical significance has rolled down the El Camino Real. We're here today to celebrate that historical treasure, to recognize the El Camino Real as a historical byway, and to also reaffirm that we feel that there's still many more miles of our history to roll down the El Camino Real to help us develop Toledo Bend Country as the most visited lake in Louisiana, and also to make Toledo Bend Country the retirement destination for America. There's a lot to do here in Sabine Parish on Toledo Bend Country, and the El Camino Real is going to play an important role, has played an important role throughout American history, and we feel very strongly will continue to play a historical significance for our future.
It's the first time ever anywhere along the 2,580 miles of trail that we've had signs go up that actually say original routes. We're very excited about this. El Camino Real de las Tejas is one of only 19 National Historic Trails in the nation. So if you can think of all of the history of our country, only 19 events have been deemed nationally significant by the U.S. Congress. And this trail, which is the oldest in Texas and Louisiana, is one of them.
I think that we have a lot going on in Toledo Bend Lake Country, period. We have 4 state parks here. We have Hodges Gardens, which is a garden in the forest. We have Fort Jessup State Park, which was one of the largest garrisons in the United States back during the Western expansion, and so it's part of our history here. And then we have North and South Toledo Bend State Park. We also have over 30 other accommodations on the 600 miles of shoreline of Toledo Bend. So there's a lot to see and do here. The Lieutenant Governor is making a tour throughout Louisiana this week in celebration of Tourism Awareness Week, our National Tourism Awareness. He's coming today. We're going to talk about the economics of tourism. We're going to talk about jobs and what tourism creates in our areas. While he's here, he's also cutting the ribbon for the Toledo Bend Forest Scenic Byway, which runs parallel to Toledo Bend Reservoir from Logansport to Toledo Bend Dam, and the ribbon cutting for the El Camino Real.
Through his office, this historical significance recognition was made possible, and we appreciate his efforts in getting this done. It's one of the oldest highways in America. We need to remember and recognize that before it's lost. And those of us who remember that or even care, we're gone.
I'm Linda Curtis Sparks, and I think I know all of you, and we really appreciate you being here today to help us celebrate Tourism Awareness Week. We're also going to celebrate a 400 or more year road today. We're going to have the ribbon cutting for the signage for the El Camino Real, and we're beginning to see visitors from Laredo, Texas, coming all the way through to Natchitoches. And we're also going to cut the ribbon for a road that some of our residents I call visionaries about 40 years ago, after Toledo Bend had been built. They wanted to do a scenic byway parallel with Toledo Bend and kind of a payback to the timber industries or the timber companies that lost a lot of their land to the lake. And they actually had a commission created legislatively, which didn't have any money, and so really didn't quite evolve until the last few years. But we also have, thanks to the state, new signage for that highway, and you're going to see it bringing a lot of new visitors in. And in celebration of National Tourism Week, we're going to cut the ribbons for both of those. But to talk to you today, we have the Lieutenant Governor here with us to really talk about how tourism is economic development. I think most of y'all know Jay Darden. He was elected to a 4-year term in 2011, and as Lieutenant Governor, he is over the Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism. He's over the state museums. He's over state libraries. He's over the arts. He's over the Seafood Promotion Board, and he's over Volunteers of Louisiana. There's a few things that he's done that I think really need to be called to our attention. He received the National Public Leadership Award for the Arts from Americans for the Arts, and in 2011 he was recognized by the Louisiana Trust for his dedication to preserving cultural and historical resources of Louisiana. Jay Darden always promotes and trains us at a yearly summit, and I have to say that one of the things that truly has endeared him to me this past year is he created, and this is what kind of a person he is, this is the Year of Music, and he himself created 200 Louisiana songs that were either about Louisiana or written by Louisiana artists, and played those for us at Summit, and they have kind of become a motivational thing for us all through the years. These songs that you were listening to while we waited on him were parts of those selections, and he actually put it all on Facebook and let everyone choose their favorite song for Louisiana. And it came out to be You Are My Sunshine. How could we turn it down? But we owe here in Sabine Parish, we owe Jay and his department a great deal of gratitude, because when you're working rural tourism, you have very few resources and a little bit of money. And they have helped us bring Bassmasters to this lake the last 3 times they've been here. Back when the lake was down in 2011, Jay and his team came to Toledo Bend and visited with a lot of you on the lake, and they helped us bring bass in that year, which really helped us all kind of pull up. And it really helped us bounce back. And then they have helped us again this year. They also help us with a lot of grants for our regional and national marketing. And this year, he's doing a huge retirement marketing plan that includes Vernon, Sabine, Toledo Bend, and Shreveport Bossier. So, Lieutenant Governor Jay Darden, thank you for being here.
I really appreciate all of you being here today and coming out for these ribbon cuttings and really for this celebration of tourism. I don't want to give you a whole lot of numbers, but I have to give you 3 numbers that are very significant to the state of Louisiana. Last year, 2013, and we just got these numbers about a week or so ago. Last year, 2013, set an all-time record for Louisiana in tourism. It beat 2012, which had set an all-time record in tourism. In 2013, 27.3 million people visited Louisiana. That's a million more than the previous year. They spent $10.8 billion in this state, and they left behind $807 million in tax revenue that you didn't pay, your fellow Louisianians didn't pay, but people who visited Louisiana left behind during their visit here. What that says is that tourism is an industry. It is a business for the state. It's big business for the state. You certainly realize it in this area, which is obviously heavily dependent upon recreational tourism, which is one of the growing areas that we really put a lot of focus on, because Louisiana has so many rich natural assets. People love to come and fish. They love to come and hunt. They love to bird watch. They love to watch alligators. They love to enjoy everything from the Atchafalaya Basin to Toledo Bend and all points in between. So we're very cognizant of all the great offerings that Louisiana has from a natural resource standpoint. It's one of the passions that we talk about and encouraging people to visit here. 1 out of every 10 people in this state works in the tourism industry. It's a major employer and a major revenue generator, and I don't think you could point to any other area of government, local, state, or national, that actually makes money for the citizens other than tourism. And tourism makes money. Every dollar that we invest yields a huge return on investment. In fact, I said I wasn't going to talk a lot about numbers, but this is an interesting one. If you took the entire budget of the Office of Tourism and factored into the $807 million, that would be a 34-to-1 return on investment. And any of you who are in the banking business or understand the interest that's paid today, that's a heck of a return on investment. So we're real proud of that. And in this area, your area is a big part of it. I love to talk about Louisiana history and reflect on Louisiana history, and this is always an area that I focus on and that I talk about. No Man's Land and Fort Jessup and the El Camino Real and how it linked the various cultures that came to Louisiana with the heavy Spanish influence in this area, and how when the French came to Louisiana they migrated up here, and those two cultures didn't really clash but melded together along with the Native American population that was here, and it creates the great melting pot that we know as Louisiana today. And it's what we're constantly talking about, and it's why people are so fascinated with the state. So I want to thank all of you for being here today, the role that each of you has played in giving us the opportunity to cut these ribbons and to celebrate the rich history that is Louisiana, that's represented so well in the northwestern part of the state and along the river and the reservoir. So thanks to all of you. I want to introduce you to some of our folks who are here. Mike is back in I saw Mike earlier from Mansfield, and from South Toledo Bend Park. Thank you for being here. And these two great parks that we have that really are on both ends of the reservoir, just two of our finest state parks. They're popular and they're frequented regularly. I was at South Toledo Bend about a week ago, and we talked about planning for the future of state parks, and we'll be doing that around the state. Doug Bourgeois is here, who runs our Scenic Byway program, and you all know about the great Scenic Byway signs that are up in this area, and we just left the boom or bust area in the northwest part of Louisiana, and we've got a lot of these scenic byways, and Doug's responsible for making that happen and focusing on ecotourism and recreational activities in the state. Cammie Geisman with our communication office is taking pictures back there, and behind me, and you haven't been able to see them yet, Kathy Berry is the Chief of Staff in the Lieutenant Governor's office hiding behind the flag. And Kyle Edmiston, who also foolishly has on a coat and tie today, is head of the Office of Tourism. And I want to tell you about Kyle and the Office of Tourism, because they were named the Southeast Tourism Office of the Year, the first time in our state's history that we were recognized as the Southeast Tourism Office of the Year. And even more importantly, under Kyle's direction, the office became only the second office of tourism in the nation to be certified or accredited by the Destination Marketing Association, which is like the Good Housekeeping seal of approval for best practices in tourism. So we're real proud of that, and that coupled with the success of your local agencies, the kind of work that Linda does and that John Crook does, and we'll be headed in that direction in just a little bit. We partner with all the local CVBs and people who are promoting attractions and hotels and restaurants and activities throughout Louisiana to have the kind of success we've had. So it's a real privilege and honor for me to be with you today, and to thank all of you for what you do in this area to promote it and make certain people appreciate that every part of Louisiana is an important part of our tourism program. And our trip this week, and we're traveling around the state to recognize National Tourism Week, and we're making a point to try and come to some of the smaller communities that don't always get all the attention, to focus on the great things that are happening in your community. So we're delighted to be in Manny, and appreciate all of you being here today, and I'm looking forward to helping cut the ribbon in just a moment. Thank y'all for being here.
Throughout America's existence, anything of historical significance has rolled down the El Camino Real, one of America's oldest continuously traveled byways or highways in America. In our past locally, El Camino Real has brought in tourists to make Toledo Bend Lake the second most visited tourist attraction in the state of Louisiana. Along the El Camino Real, it's brought in retirees, and over the years has made Toledo Bend Country one of the fastest growing retirement areas in Louisiana. We're here today to celebrate this national treasure as becoming one of America's historical trails and byways. But we're also going to look to El Camino Real for our future. We're going to continue to see tourists come down the El Camino Real to make Toledo Bend Lake the #1 tourist attraction in Louisiana. We will continue to see retirees come along the El Camino Real to the Toledo Bend Country to make Toledo Bend Country replace Florida as the retirement destination point in the future. We have a whole lot of wonderful, wonderful history to roll down El Camino Real yet. And I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you're here. Welcome.
My name's Buddy Wood. I'm the president of the Sabine Parish Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the Chamber and our 180 members, we welcome you, and particularly our Lieutenant Governor and his staff. This is a special opportunity to see you again and let you know how much we appreciate what you do for our parish and the cause of tourism. I'm also a 31-year businessman here in Sabine Parish as a State Farm agent, and I understand the value of tourism as a business person in addition to the value as a representative of the Chamber, because probably 30% of my 3,000 clients are actually folks who came as tourists and decided to stay as residents.